effective teaching. In this Jubilee year of our college, we are honored to host such a program led by a group of expert resource persons from prestigious institutions and universities. On this occasion, I deem it a great honor to welcome you all to this event. First of all, let me welcome our leader, our beloved principal, Father Denny Cholapalil, to this program. Welcome, sir. And I extremely delighted to pronounce the chief guest of the day, Honorable Speaker Sri M.B. Rajesh, who will be inaugurating our session. Welcome, sir. Next, I would like to welcome the eminent resource person for today's session, Father Dr. Kurian Kachapalli, President, Dharmaram Vidya Kendra, Bangalore, to this, and we would be delighted with his expertise and knowledge in every way possible. I am extremely happy to welcome our patron, Dr. Sudarshan Kumar, HOD of Chemistry Department, to this event too. And I would like to welcome all the enthusiastic participants from different universities and colleges from all over India to this event. Once again, I welcome you all and I wish everyone an enthusiastic session ahead. Thank you.
For the presidential address, I welcome Father Denny Cholapalil, Principal of St. Mary's College.
Thank you. Honorable Speaker of Kerala Legislative Assembly, Sri M.B. Rajesh, the Chief Guest of inaugural session of Faculty Development Program. Today's resource person, Father Dr. Kurian Kachapalli, President, Dharmaram College, Bangalore. Dr. Sudarshan Kumar, the Mentor of Faculty Development Program. Srimati Sharada, the Coordinator of Faculty Development Program. Respected teachers of St. Mary's College, Puthanangadi, and you participants from all over India. A warm good evening to all of you. It gives me immense joy and pleasure to be here on this auspicious moment of inaugural ceremony of 7-day faculty development program conducted by St. Mary's College, Puthanangadi. St. Mary's College was founded in 1996 by the Sufis congregation with the goal of educating and empowering youth so that they can be socially conscious, morally upright, emotionally balanced, and financially independent. St. Mary's College is a combination of talented faculty, state-of-the-art infrastructure, experience and efficient management, and a secure and supportive environment that provides students with a balance of academic, sports, arts, and social opportunities. The mission of our institution is to ensure the emotional growth of students along with intellectual excellence. This enables them to develop their self-esteem, self-awareness, and self-confidence. We teach students the importance of tolerance and respect for each other's faith and culture. Discipline, values, and integrity are the foundation of this organization. Our vision is to produce responsible and accountable citizens of India who will go out into the world and make us proud. At present, St. Mary's College opens a vast opportunity for aspirants as it offers 10 undergraduate courses and 3 postgraduate courses. Today, St. Mary's College so proudly presents before you the 7-day faculty development program for the faculties of all over India on effective training strategy in higher education. By conducting the FDP, our main aim is to enrich the knowledge of faculties through interaction with eminent and experienced personalities from different parts of our nation. The knowledge sharing will improve the teaching, learning process to the students and benefit the society. Today, I am so privileged to welcome Honorable Speaker of Kerala, Sri M.B. Rajesh, to inaugurate our 7-day faculty development program. Respected sir, we are so happy to see you here on this platform, and we are sure that your words will enrich us with a lot of insights. Thank you for accepting our invitation and spending your valuable time with us. We are so happy to have Dr. Father Kurian Kachapalli, the President of Dharmaram College, Bangalore, who is the resource person of today's FDP. Thank you, Father, for your great presence with us. And also I welcome all other respected resource persons who will be delivering their classes on coming days. I am glad to acknowledge and appreciate the organizing team of St. Mary's College, Puthanangadi, for the meticulous planning and systematic organization of FDP. I am delighted to see the participants from all over India. Your participation is an indication of your commitment to learn new ideas in effective teaching strategies in higher education. May the 7-day FDP enrich you with the knowledge and required skills for your profession of imparting knowledge. I wish you all a great learning time these 7 days. Thank you all, and I remain.
Thank you, Father. Due to his hectic schedule, our esteemed chief guest, Sri M.B. Rajesh, the Speaker of Kerala Legislative Assembly, is not joining live today. Instead, he has honored us by sending an inaugural video which will be played here. One of the best and promising young parliamentarians contemporary India had seen, respected Speaker of Kerala Legislative Assembly, M.B. Rajesh. He graduated in law from the University of Kerala and did his post-graduation in economics. Starting his political activism from a young age during his schooling, M.B. Rajesh rose to the position of President and later the Secretary of Students' Federation of India, Kerala State Committee. He also held the positions of Joint Secretary and Vice President of Students' Federation of India in the Central Committee. After his vibrant student life, he joined Democratic Youth Federation of India, of which he became the national president. He is the former member of the parliament for 2 consecutive terms, representing Palakkad in the Lok Sabha, where his interventions and speeches as an opposition member were duly noted and applauded by the public. M.B. Rajesh is now a member of the CPIM Kerala State Committee and a member of Legislative Assembly representing the Trithalla constituency of Palakkad district, and most importantly, the Speaker of the Legislative Assembly of Kerala. Let's go to the video now.
Respected teachers and dear friends, I am very happy to inaugurate a 7-day faculty development program conducted online by St. Mary's College, Puthanangadi, Malappuram. I understand that many eminent scholars, educationists, and experts are taking part in this faculty development program. There will be in-depth analysis of various topics. There will be series of lectures on different topics. and this will enrich the entire faculty of your college. I do not want to go into the details of your program. I would like to raise some general issues in this regard. When we talk about higher education, we have to keep in mind that the main function of higher education or an higher education institutions like universities or other centers of higher learning is to generate new knowledge and its dissemination. But unfortunately, the popular perception about higher education has now become something which is aimed at creating humans for white collar jobs or technocrats or big executives. This is not the main function of higher education. Higher education, I think, is an engine for the wider socio-economic development and for ensuring social justice. One of the major advantages of our country is a young population. Average age of our population is 28 to 29. This is a big advantage which even the developed countries is lacking now. In order to make use of this advantage, we need to invest massively in higher education, because only through generation and dissemination of knowledge we can empower this youth. Only when we are able to empower this youth through knowledge, we can ensure the progress of our country. So, if we want to ensure the development and all-round progress of our country, we need to promote higher education and we need to spend much on higher education. But the existing reality is contrary to this fact. 3 decades of neoliberal economic policies have seen withdrawal of state from the field of higher education in terms of funding. The state funding has seen a considerable decline, a steady decline over the last 3 decades. And the withdrawal of state is leaving more space for private capital. The increasing privatization has led to the commercialization of education, and this will have serious implications, or this is already having serious implications. Mainly, there are 2 important issues related to this. Number 1 is the role of higher education is redefined into something which I already said, creation of humans for white collar jobs. And in this process, topics like humanities or disciplines like humanities, basic sciences, languages, literature, etc. are being increasingly neglected. The whole focus is on market-driven courses. Market demand has become the main criteria for offering courses. Secondly, there is an issue of affordability. The neoliberal approach has changed the very idea of higher education. According to a WTO document, it says that the beneficiary must pay. That means the beneficiary of higher education must pay a price for acquiring the knowledge. It is no more a responsibility of the state to provide higher education. So this has affected affordability. Only those who can afford the price can acquire knowledge. That is the existing reality. Thirdly, another important issue is that of inequality. Now we are talking about higher education in the background of a global pandemic. Even the pandemic has become global in this age of globalization. Unlike the Spanish flu of 1918, this has affected every nook and corner of our globe, because this is an era of globalization. Not just ideas and knowledge is being globalized, even the virus is being globalized. So this experience of pandemic has forced us to adopt online mode of education. However, the online mode of education has exposed the serious inequalities and weaknesses of our higher education system. In a country like country like India, where students cannot afford to have a laptop, or where the internet penetration is very low, the digital mode of education is not an ideal way to go forward. I'm not saying that we should not think of digital mode of education. My point is that digital mode of education alone cannot fulfill the needs of higher education in our country. So this has brought to the fore an issue of digital divide. So in order to address this issue of digital divide, again, we need to step up public investment and public spending. Private sector is not going to address this issue of digital divide. Number 4 is the issue of social exclusion. Privatization and marketization, commercialization of our higher education has increasingly led to a social exclusion of students belonging to SCs, STs, and other weaker and marginalized sections. This process has been intensified over the last 3 decades. When I was a member of parliament, I had taken up these issues. I had raised many questions in parliament on the issue of increasing dropouts in centers of higher learning like IITs and IIMs. We must know that not only there is a higher rate of dropouts, but even the suicide rate is alarmingly high among the students belonging to these categories in centers of higher learning. And I would like to appeal to teachers to take note of this situation, and the authorities and teachers have an important role to play in addressing these issues. Because in centers of higher learnings, majority of our teachers belongs to either upper caste or upper class. Most of them belongs to elite backgrounds, and they fail to understand the issue of social exclusion and social justice. We are the experiences of the tragedy happened to, or the institutional murder of students like Rohit Vemula. So I think teachers have a greater responsibility in addressing these issues. Another important issue is the threat of communalization of higher education. The syllabus and curriculum is increasingly being affected by the communal content, pseudoscience, and portraying myth as history. All these challenges are there. So teachers and scholars have to be very careful and vigilant about these wrong tendencies. Finally, and most importantly, the key aspect of higher education is ensuring free and fearless academic atmosphere. As I said earlier, the main function of higher education is generation of new knowledge and ideas. New knowledge and ideas can only be generated in a conducive atmosphere, which ensures critical thinking, which provides space for dissent, and which accommodates all shades of opinion. Hence, I would like to request teachers to ensure an academic atmosphere free, fearless, and which promotes critical thinking and inquisitiveness among the students. These are some of the important issues I would like to raise in this inaugural address. With these words, I conclude. Thank you very much.
I would like to extend my gratitude to Sri M.B. Rajesh, Honorable Speaker of Legislative Assembly of Kerala. Next, I would like to welcome Dr. M.R. Sudarshana Kumar, Head of Department of Chemistry, St. Mary's College, for the felicitation.
Reverend Father Denny Chalapalli, Principal and President of the session, Sri M.B. Rajesh, Honorable Speaker of Kerala Legislative Assembly, Reverend Father Dr. Kurian Kachapalli, Resource Person for today, Srimati Sarada Anilkumar, Coordinator of FDP, Srimati Soumya Prakash, Assistant Coordinator of FDP, distinguished participants from all over India. A warm good evening to all of you. It is with immense pleasure that I speak a few words in this occasion. This FDP is starting just a day after we celebrated the Teachers' Day. The destiny of India is being shaped in our classrooms, said Kothari Commission in its report submitted on 29 June 1966. And the destiny of these classrooms is shaped by the committed teachers. Therefore, it is very pertinent to note that our college, in its Silver Jubilee, is organizing a 7-day faculty development program on a very relevant topic, effective teaching strategies in higher education. And this is very important because our nation is also celebrating the 75th year of independence now. I wish all the best for the faculty development program. I also request all the participants for their active participation. So once again, all the best wishes for this program and also for the participants. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now we will be moving on to today's session. We have a few instructions for the participants. The session will begin now. So participants, please note, after the session, a feedback form will be provided, which will be active only for 20 minutes. I repeat, 20 minutes. It is mandatory to fill the feedback form every day. I repeat, it is mandatory to fill the feedback form every day. So today's resource person is Father Dr. Kurian Kachapalli. Dr. Kurian Kachapalli is a Catholic priest of the Carmelites of Mary Immaculate and a professor of philosophy and religion. At present, he is the president of the Pontifical Athenaeum, Dharmaram Vidyakshetram. Kachapalli is a professor of philosophy, religion, and management at Vidyakshetram and Christ University, both in Bangalore, India. He is the author of several books, including Mysticism Without Bounds and Mystic Music in World Religions. His most popular books include God of Love and Between Partners. Kachapalli studied philosophy at Dharmaram Vidyakshetram, and he earned a licentiate and PhD in philosophy from the University of Leuven, Belgium. He is a well-known organizer of international conferences like the 7th International Whitehead Conference, Christ University, Bangalore, and the International Process Philosophy Congress in Bangalore. Dr. Kachapalli was the chief organizer of the conference on Mysticism Without Bounds in 2011, and the chief guest was the Dalai Lama, and Bounds of Ethics in a Globalized World in 2014, in which delegates and representatives from 70 plus countries took part. Dr. Kurian Kachapalli, please, you may begin your session now.
Thank you, Sneha. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Would you permit me to share the screen?
Yes, sir, you may share the screen.
Okay, can you see the screen? Hello?
Sir.
Okay, if you have any technical problem, let me know.
Yes, sir, we will inform
Okay.
you.
Okay, so good evening, everybody. The chief guest of the day, Sri M.B. Rajesh, in absentia. Chief patron, Reverend Father Denny, CFIAC, Principal St. Mary's College. Patron Dr. M.R. Sudarshan Kumar, Ms. Sharada Anil Kumar, Coordinator, FTP Organizing Committee, honorable teachers, professors, and my dear participants across India. At the very outset, may I wish you all belated greetings and blessings of the Teachers' Day. My presentation will have two parts. In the first part, I will discuss topic professional ethics. And the second part, I will deal with classroom communication. I think altogether I have about 90 minutes. So maybe I'll speak about 30, 35 minutes, and then we'll pause for a while for discussion. And later, we'll take up the second. Is that okay, this dynamics? Yes?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, with your kind permission, may I begin? Professional ethics. These are some of the points I will discuss. Introduction, terms and definitions, what is ethics, principles of ethics, ethical theories, ethical paradigms, and conclusion. Now, my very approach will be as if I am one among you. We all are colleagues in the field of academics. Therefore, my task is to be a gadfly, if I borrow an expression from the philosopher Socrates. A gadfly is a fly which would sting a lazy, passive horse so that it would become active, agile, alert. Now here, I'm not going to sting, but I will just try to animate so that what we are going to discuss, that is professional ethics, will make some sense now and later in our day-to-day life. I will begin with a mantra of success shared by the famous architect of the modern Singapore, Dr. Kishore Bahubani. For him, the mantra of success is MPH. It's an acronym, it's a short form for meritocracy, practicality, and honesty. Just a short explanation. Meritocracy, the rule of the merit or rule by the merit. What is meant by here is the eligibility, the credibility of faculty members, credibility of students, credibility of institutions, anything you can talk about. What are our credentials as an institution of higher education? And what are the credentials, especially the faculty and the students? Now, second, practicality, something to be worked out in our day-to-day life. I remember the story told by Dr. Kishore. He said the question of a cat, whether it is white or black or red, is immaterial. The important question is whether the cat catches a mouse. And if it catches a mouse, that cat, whether it is white or black, is good. Now, third, which is the bottom line of success, is according to Dr. Kishore, is honesty. And gives a very powerful example. The Deputy Prime Minister of Singapore went for a holidays, taking money from the state exchequer. And after the holidays, when he came back with his family, he was immediately arrested by the police because he used the state money for his personal holiday. That is the height of honesty in Singapore today that made a third world country perhaps a first world country in Asian country. So my dear teachers, let's keep this mantra in our life. MPH, meritocracy, practicality, and honesty. Now the two words that interplay in our title, one is profession and the other ethics. Now let us try to see what are the meanings. Now first, profession. In the social parlance, there are several words and terms used interchangeably. We could sometimes say, I have a job. Now, I am searching, I have an occupation, or I am trying to build up a career. In ordinary language, we use it as if they're one and the same. But I see there are many from English literature department. In any language, if there are two words, they cannot have the same meaning. There will be some difference of nuance and implication of it. So too, profession is not same as job. Now, we may ask, what is the difference between job and profession? Job is a work that a person, an individual does in an organization, in a company, in a corporate sector, and get his paychecks. It can be a full-time job, it can be a part-time job, or even it can be a freelance job. For example, I can hire an editor just for editing my new book, and that is a sort of freelance job. Now, on the other hand, a profession is an activity that maintains now knowledge, specialized training, certificates, and skills. You see, perhaps we may think about that traditional saying, ask. You need to build up attitudes, and you need to train yourself for skills, and you also acquire knowledge, attitudes, skills, and knowledge. Now, profession, all the more, is characterized by a lifetime devotion to one's specialized area of training when serving others, in addition to integrity of character, sound knowledge, and excellent skills. Again, connoting ask, attitudes, skills, and knowledge. As you know, the term profession first occurred in the religious circles and is used like professional vows, religious profession, etc. It's around 1675. The term had been used in the secular world, namely the three learned professions like divinity, law, and medicine. So you can say medicine is a profession, law is a profession, and religious life is a profession. That were the three. Later, military service also considered to be a profession. And today we all know that teaching is also considered to be a profession, not a job. Now, what is the key difference between a profession and a non-professional? A professional and non-professional. A professional acquires a body of knowledge on the course of contact, behavioral pattern, which guide one in decision-making and moral judgment. Example, we know the Hippocratic Oath, which the medical doctors still adhere to when they take the oath. Hence the question of ethics. Now, given this explanation and the difference between profession and job, Darrell Reek tries to define what is meant by professional and professional ethics. For him, it should include four important aspects. Number one, it should be an educated person with training, possessing skills and knowledge. Then most important, working under the disciplines and ethic. There should be an ethical code, a moral system. And finally, commissioned, appointed, mandate to satisfy complex needs by making judgments. Judgment, something can be good, something may have dire consequences. Now, let us ask together, what is meant by ethics? That's one of the key concepts we have to explain. Now, borrowing the insights of Raymond Baumhart, who is an expert in business ethics, I'm going to present four views. In anticipation, I am trying to summarize. Number one, ethics equated with feelings. So the key word, feelings. Number two, the key word is religious beliefs. Ethics means religious beliefs. Third one, ethics means the laws of the country. Fourth one, certain standards of behavior. Now let us take the first one. Ethics has to do with what my feelings tell me what is right and what is wrong. I don't know whether you'd agree with that. What is the problem with feelings equated with ethics? Being ethical is clearly not a matter of following one's feelings. As you know, feelings would change from person to person, even context to context. Even the same person, sometimes you say, okay, now I feel like eating an ice cream, and later we'll say, sorry, I have no feeling. Therefore, feeling cannot be equated with ethics, which may lead to recoiling from doing what is right, as feelings keep on changing. Therefore, my first take will be, although feelings may play a role in the making of ethics and ethical conduct, feelings cannot be equated with. Number two, ethics has to do with my religious beliefs. I don't know whether you would agree. I know most of the religions have high, lofty ideals, which may be incorporated to ethical systems. But I have a strong observation. You can't equate ethics with religious beliefs for various reasons. Number one, if ethics is equated with religious belief, that would automatically exclude all the so-called non-believers, whether they are atheists or agnostics or materialists. Secondly, religion cannot be equated with, ethics cannot be equated with religious beliefs because as it stands today, ethics is understood differently. That's why we have different religions. And you can see some of the religions are in clash with. That means everything doesn't go well. Therefore, something is wrong somewhere. Whereas ethical assets should stand for something good, something life promoting. Therefore, although religion can contribute to a great extent to the making of ethical code, I wouldn't equate ethics and religious beliefs. Now, third, being ethical is doing what the law requires. I know every nation, every state, every association, every company, even every educational institution has a set of rules and regulations. But we doubt whether that can be the foundation of ethics. You see, there may be in the law certain standards, certain rights, and certain good, let's say, properties. But as such, they are not equal to ethics. Why? In the history, there have been various laws which went against the good of the people. You know, the pre-Civil War slavery, once upon a time, slavery was legally acceptable. And secondly, the apartheid laws of South Africa. Thirdly, maybe maybe that could be debatable, the caste system in India and its own privileges and rights. So these are some of the laws enacted by the states, but we don't equate ethics with the laws. And fourth one, ethics consists of the standards of behavior of society. Here again, all behavioral patterns of a particular society cannot be equated with what is called. Again, give very many examples, and one of the typical examples is the practice of Germany under the Nazi regime, the anti-Semitic attitude. And we have typical monuments like Auschwitz and Dachau, where millions were put to death. So therefore, what we call what society accepts may not be ethical at large. So these are the four questions we discussed. Number one, ethics, something to do with the feelings. Second, ethics to do with religious belief. Third, ethics, something to do with the laws. And fourth, ethics has to do with what our society accepts. We have our own take on that, and we have our own observation. Let's move on. Now, what is really ethics? Ethics refers to well-based standards of right and wrong. This is the first thing we have to keep in mind when we talk about what is right, what is wrong. And that prescribes what humans ought to do. You see, what I will do, what I shall do, is not saying what we call what ought to do. Later, you might remember about the categorical imperative of Immanuel Kant. We'll come to that later. You see, some of the key concepts, this what ought to do is explained in terms of rights, obligations, fairness, or specific virtues. I'm going to pick up three important words: standards, rights, and virtues. Now we have standards or commands like don't kill, don't lie, don't steal, etc. We have rights, we have fundamental rights. right to life, right to freedom, right to religion, etc. And we also talk about virtues like honesty, compassion, loyalty. We can talk about justice, wisdom, courage, etc. So this is in short what we talk about ethics. So ethics speaks about what is right and what is wrong, accordingly what humans should do or ought to do. Now, what are the principles of ethics? Here we have 4 important ethical principles. Number 1, principle of beneficence. Number 2, non-maleficence. Third one, autonomy or freedom. And fourth one is justice. Can you remember? Beneficence, non-maleficence, autonomy, and finally, justice. Now, first one, what is the principle of beneficence? Beneficence say the priority should be given to do good. You see, all ethical theories, all ethical system or code of conduct should somehow aim at to do good. Of course, later we can ask the question, what is good? And who decides the norms of being good? Etc. These are added questions. But in general, we can say, when it's a principle of beneficent to, for the good of people, for the welfare, for the wholeness of people. That's the meaning of bene. Bene means good. Good happening, beneficent, achere. So good thing, that should be the first motivating principle in ethics, beneficence. Number 2, non-maleficence. Male means evil, bad. So now the bottom line of non-maleficence is don't harm. You see, there should be no intention to harm somebody or to injury somebody. Now that harming can be by way of commission and omission. Commission, what you do, and omission, what you don't do. You see, today, because of the apathy, indifference, there are more and more sins of omission than commission. Sometimes we keep away from getting engaged in the society. Now, non-maleficence primarily means first, do not harm. Now, there may be question of what we can discuss if you want. Principle of lesser evil or double effect. For example, now one of the famous cases in morality or moral theology is mother and the baby in the womb. Now, there may be risk for the mother or the baby. Now, who is to be saved? Who is to be protected? And the ethical theory will say principle of lesser evil. And doctors would try to protect, assist, and that process, if the child is dying, they would say, yes, it is a choice of lesser evil. That's one of the casus cases. So therefore, second principle, don't harm, either way of commission or omission. And third one, that autonomy should be there in the ethical practice. Now, the importance of freedom is very, very important. As you may know, an act to become a human act, an ethical act, provided there are 2 important criteria. Number 1, freedom. Number 2, knowledge. Sufficient freedom and sufficient knowledge are the requirements to make an act a human act. Otherwise, that act will not be considered a human act. That's why an insane person is not punished for his act. So too, children are not punished for their crimes. Of course, today debates are going on after the Nirbhaya issue, who is an adult, who is not a child, etc. But in short, we can say autonomy, freedom is very important. You can't force upon anybody. And that's also one of the fundamental rights, right to freedom. So that's what we call a moral act. Ethical act to become ethical, provided there is a guarantee of autonomy and freedom. And the fourth one is justice. Justice for Aristotle is the virtue of virtues. I know the common definition of justice. Each one one's due. You see, in the society, in the nation, in the world at large, although we talk about equality, where do you find equality? I always used to tell my students, look at the hand. Why all the fingers are quite different? Why all the fingers are different? Some are short, some are long, some are thick, some are not thick. Even I had a demonstration in the class, an experiment. One day we spent some time to make all the 5 fingers same in thickness, length, and width. Then I asked them to pick up something from the floor, and they terribly failed. Look at the nature. Everything is different. Therefore, although in our preamble of the Constitution, there is one of the important virtues is justice. Now, this is the question. Sorry, one of the virtues is equality. Where do you find equality? Are 2 people equal? Are 2 institutions equal? Are 2 families equal? No. But therefore, Aristotle will say what is best is justice. Justice is each one one's due. You see, therefore, this is a very controversial statement in Aristotle. The principle that equal should be treated equally and unequals unequally. But what is said by the virtue of justice is justice should follow the principles of fairness, equity, and access in that way when it is of same ranking. That's what is said. So these are the 4 principles of ethics. Once again, let's go back. Number 1, beneficence. Number 2, non-maleficence. Number 3, autonomy. And number 4, justice. Okay. A recap of what we have seen. We made a distinction between job and profession. And we said profession requires ask, that is training in attitudes, in skills, and acquiring knowledge. Okay. Then we tried to say what is ethics. There we introduce 4 concepts: ethics as feelings, ethics as religious beliefs, ethics as law, and ethics certain code of conduct in a society. Then we had 4 principles of ethics. Okay, let's move on. Next is the famous ethical theory. There are several ethical theories, but maybe we can have a look at the most important 4, what we call utilitarianism, ethics of duties, rights and justice, and virtue ethics. The utilitarianism by Jeremy Bentham and Stuart Mill, and ethics of duty, they call it deontological or non-consequentialist by Immanuel Kant, the German philosopher. Rights and justice, beginning from John Locke, but latest John Rawls, and virtue ethics by Aristotle, taking clues from Plato. Yes. Now we will just, now, what is utilitarianism? They say the end justifies the act. Whereas what is the traditional ethics? The end does not justify the means. But here they would say what is important is the ends. That's what is called consequentialist. You see? So, of course, we can question this, whether the end alone can justify. Now, what about certain things which cannot be measured in terms of rewards, in terms of cash. For example, the health, the safety, the public welfare, can they be measured? I don't know if you have heard about that famous Chinese poster, what we can buy with money and what we cannot buy with money. For example, we can buy any amount of food and drinks, but we cannot buy taste. You see, we can bring any number of best doctors, but we cannot buy health. So you see, that list goes on. Therefore, pure utility, pure cash value can be the criterion for judging our code of conduct action. That's number one. Second, introduced by Immanuel Kant, a duty-based approach by Immanuel, who developed a vision of ethics as measured by the rightness of rules rather than by consequence. He says a duty is good, or duty is to be done just for duty's sake, not aspiring for any consequence, any fruits. You may recall what Gita speaks about, a kind of nishkama karma. Even people ask, is nishkama karma free of reward or fruits? That's a question too. Similarly, duty for duty's sake, for what? You see, here is what I refer to the categorical bridge. If a person should choose to act, if he or she would be willing to have every person on earth in that same situation act exactly that same way. A person should act in a way that respects and treats all others involved as ends. Now, one important contribution Immanuel Kant is this. In our actions, in our relationship, we should not use a person just as the means. A person should be ultimately used as an end, not purely as an object to be used and thrown away, especially in the backdrop of use and throw culture of the society. These are the critique. The third is about rights. There are legal rights, then there are moral rights, there are contractual rights, there are positive rights, and also there are negative rights. Now, in the name of rights, can we cross the limit? Therefore, when there was invasion of Iraq by USA, people asked this question: what motivated them? Is it to protect the people of Iraq against unjust political powers, or to safeguard one's own interest? Similarly, I don't know you have read that famous poem, the famous prose by A.G. Gardner, Crossing the Road. You see, the story takes place in the Piccadilly Street in London, a busy hour. One lady tried to cross the road without caring for any traffic rules, but the police stops her and she gets an argument with the police saying, do you know who am I? She said, I am a free citizen of the British Empire, therefore assuming I can do everything. But then the policeman replies, look at those people who drive the cars. They're also free citizens of the British Empire. And if your freedom collides with their freedom, what will be the outcome? Therefore, the limits of rights should be taken into question. Now, finally, the virtue ethics introduced by Aristotle. Aristotle say all our actions lead to excellence. He uses the Greek word arete. Arete means excellence. Today we use in the educational context, we say excellent education or excellence in education. Also in healthcare, we say excellence in healthcare. But Aristotle would say excellence in character formation. Okay? So much that you enjoy happiness. And what are the virtues he speaks about? The cardinal virtues, what we understand today: wisdom, courage, self-control, and justice. Now, in order to promote and flourish these virtues, he puts forward three important prerequisites. Number one, generally accepted virtues of character. There should be certain consensus about what are the virtues. Here, the role of a larger society, maybe a nation, maybe a state, maybe a community. Secondly, there should be a community who can support these virtues or those people who practice virtue. And thirdly, there should be models or role models in the society which may be emulated. You know, the old saying, verba movent, ambla trahunt. Words can move, but examples can transform. And today we need examples. That's what also the old saying, a genuine teacher can inspire and transform. So these are the 4 ethical theories. Number 1, utilitarianism. That is a consequentialist theory. The ends will decide whether the act is good or not. Second, non-consequentialist, which is called universal. Duty for duty's sake is an imperative. And thirdly, rights. And fourthly, virtues. Next, I will bring some certain ethical paradigms, both from the West and the East. Now, we know the golden rule, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. This is from the Gospel of Matthew. It's the same thing put in negative by Confucius years ago. What you do not want done to yourself, do not do to others. Then we have the famous Hippocratic oath. First of all, do not harm. And the religious creed, like the 10 Commandments, thou shalt respect your parents. Then from the East, we have powerful statement from India. The Vedas say, Dharmo Rakshati Rechidaha. Dharma protects you if you protect. Kautilya's Arthashastra speaks about Bhujana Sukhaya, Bhujana Hidaya Cha, the welfare of the many and happiness of the many. Finally, Taittiriya Upanishads speak about Satyam Vada, Dharmam Chara, speak the truth and practice virtue. These are some of the paradigms to be followed in our life. Now, I will conclude this session with a take on that. You see, all what we have said will be practically useless if you don't make a difference between in our approach to life. I used to call it discipline and self-discipline. Let me give 2 powerful examples. What is discipline? It's as if somebody pushes a criminal into a prison and then lock from behind. That is discipline. What is self-discipline? It's an experience of entering your home, your house, and lock it from within. I would say professional ethics will be fruitful, effective, and it will be experienceable provided we are trained in self-discipline. That is a home experience, not a jail experience. Nobody should put us inside and lock from outside, but we go voluntarily inside and lock from inside, experience the family, experience the home, where there is homeliness and easiness. Thank you. Here I will break for a while. Okay, are you there?
Sir, is it time for doubts?
Yes, maybe we can spend some time before I take up the second topic.
Okay, sir, in the chat box, we have some of the doubts coming up. Participants, please note that you can only raise doubts in the chat box. You cannot unmute.
Yeah, you can. Yeah. There's some questions here, so please throw some light on what humans ought to do defines ethics. Okay. Now, the first question I am reading out for the sake of the public. Please throw some light on what humans ought to do defines ethics. How is different from the law? You see, I told you while speaking about whether ethics can be equated with law. Yes, to a great extent, law would incorporate best standards and rights of life. But there are societies, they have enacted laws which are contrary to at least some groups of people. I gave example, the apartheid law, where the Afrikaner, the white, went against the local people. Similarly, in America, we have the law of slavery, which now it is abolished. So law per se may not be purely ethical, what we ought to do. Ought to do means, as Immanuel Kant said, in all similar situations, everybody should do the same. That is ought to do. And when there is no choice. You see? So that is the difference between ought to do and a particular law. And law is also, there is a problem. Law has a jurisdiction. Now, some of the Indian laws are not applicable outside India. You see, therefore, if we equate law and ought to do, the problem will be this Indian law will not be, say, others will say, Europeans, for example, Germans would say, no, we are not bound by that. Whereas ethics is more universal. It concerns human person beyond the national boundaries. Yes. Then what is the, let me see what are the second questions. There are several questions because it's going upward.
So the second question is, sir, what are the moral dilemmas concerning teachers?
Yes. Now, first thing we would say, the justice done to students, that's one issue. Are we impartial to students? Or favoritism, regionalism, parochialism, my ownness to play a role? That's why we say ethics has to do with the fairness. Now, due to undue influence, whatever be, what sort of manipulations, maneuvering take place at the academic places in case of admission, in case of appointments, in case of promotion, especially when the defense of the PhD, are we fair? I am using that first sentence I used, are we honest? That's the major issues in the academic field. Similarly, I can ask, you see, when we speak about honesty, you have to think about 3 levels. Am I faithful to myself? Am I doing to my duty as a teacher, as a professor? My punctuality, you see, my fidelity to the syllabus. Am I regular? Do I take students into confidence? These are two. Now, secondly, relate to the other. All the stakeholders you can talk about, students, parents, management. And finally, I would say to the very goal of education. That means you have to bring out. So therefore, these are some of the applications in the educational field. Now we will speak about now issues like plagiarism. You see, the ethics of research I didn't bring in because there are so many things to talk about research, which is typically academic, research and publication. Even we need one special session just for research ethics alone. You see, some of the reports we get from Indian universities. Now, you see, since I studied in the North, I am originally from Kerala, but studied in the North. I am a Jesuit Protestant, I'm a Savarian. But later I had a great exposure to Europe. You see, now when we go for teaching in Europe, especially Germany or Belgium or Australia, the first thing they ask is, send the true copy or the scanned copy of your PhD. And they ask second question, where is it from? And if it is from India, they say they have to verify. I don't know. People are somehow lost. Somehow, not, I don't say everybody. There are some people very much love Indians. But in some universities, for the academic purpose, they have lost confidence. You know, all the tamashas happening about this COVID vaccination in Mumbai, in Calcutta, some parts other countries. where water or saline were injected, and they said, okay, this is all vaccine, Covishield or whatever. You see, honesty is questioned because corruption is now always all pervasive. So these are some of the applications we had to do in the academics. Yes, other questions, please? Yeah, these are the moral dilemmas concerning teachers.
Sir, we have another question.
Yes,
Please
please.
throw some light on the importance of professional ethics, specifically in teaching profession.
Yeah. One important thing is, am I equipping myself in that pre-ask, especially my attitudes? How good is the integrity of the teacher? This is the most challenging question. You see, as I told you, a genuine teacher should inspire and transform. Today, including myself, how many teachers can faithfully say, my life is inspiring so much so my students are transformed? You see? Now, because in our Indian culture, a guru is very close to God. See, Guru Deva Bhava. So therefore, my words and my dealings, now especially from the campus, now what all news we get, you see, harassment, pornography, drugs, you see, then political interference. Why? Because many of us are silent. I told you, apathy, indifference, maybe out of fear. Maybe in North India, we say, chalte hai. Chalte means let it be. Why I should be concerned? You see, recently, just to answer that, recently I had a talk by Sambit Troda, the one who revolutionized the Indian telecom communications in India. You see, he said, today, we don't need teachers. That's his blunt statement. What we need today, he said, are mentors. And he referred to something like the old Gurukula system, one-to-one. I hope some of you at least know the system of education in Finland. Until 16, no common exams, no competition whatsoever. Every person has a mentor, and that mentor gives a kind of promotion. And one good thing there, to be a teacher in Finland, the minimum qualification is a postgraduate degree. And they are the highly paid employees in the country. And of course, the PhD level is still higher. This is, I'm saying, minimum a master's plus a few months of training in a particular institute earmarked by the state. And each teacher is monitored by another person. If you have that system in our institutions, you see, so these are some of the things we can put into practice. Similarly, I am sure in my scholar there will be evaluation system. I don't know, threefold evaluation. That is student evaluation, peer group evaluation, management evaluation. I don't know whether I answered the question because I don't see people there. I always like face-to-face class. Now this online, that is a problem. Okay, what is the other question?
So we have a question from Dr. Naresh.
Yes,
He
please,
asks,
Dr. Naresh.
what is the difference between the ethics in personal life and professional ethics?
Ethics is more universal, generic. Whether it be professional life or family life or personal life, there are set of rules which are ethical, but they may not be the same. That's the difference. Because profession demands certain things. It may not be the same when you are at home with your family. There you have family ethics, you see. Or when you are a teacher, there is what we call educational ethics. And that's why UGC has given a set of rules. Now new NEP has its own set of guidelines. So We need ethics in all walks of life, but they are not all same, although the ultimate principle can be kept beneficent. What is that? Aspire for doing good. Second, non-maleficence, don't harm. And third, allow freedom, sufficient freedom. And fourth, do justice. And that is equally applicable in the family context, in the community context, in the academic university context, even in national or international context. So ethics is something universal without which we can't live in any walk of life. I repeat, but the guidelines will be different, although the aim is to do good and avoid evil. Yes, any other?
Sir, do you want to take more questions? We have a lot of questions coming in, or do you want to continue with your session?
Yeah, maybe I will finish the second session. And now when we are supposed, now it's going to be 6 o'clock.
Sir, your session will end at 6:30.
Okay. So I can talk till 6:30.
Yes, sir, you can talk
Okay.
till 6:30.
Okay, then with your kind permission, I will go to the second session and then we'll come back if you want questions. I am
Okay,
free
sir.
because this day I have set apart for MSc College.
Participants, thank you for your patience. Your questions will be addressed later on in the session. Thank you.
Also, you can send me also. I will try to reply by email or whatever. Now, shall I present the second?
Yes, sir.
Now, the second one is wait a minute. There. Share screen. Okay. Okay, can you see the slides? Hello, Madam Sharada? Hello? Somebody there? Hello?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, can you see the slide?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, let's begin our classroom communication. Now, introduction, verbal communication, non-verbal communication, effective communication, some of the tips for effective communication, and finally, the conclusion. Now, I'm sure some of you might have seen this. This is the situation we live today. Formerly, we had only 3 H's. That's don't see, don't hear, and don't speak. But today, what is the new gen specialty? They don't see, they don't hear, they don't talk, but they are completely engrossed in their own, what we call androids or mobiles, or whatever you call it. You see, this is the type of, at least some of the students we are facing in our classroom. We should not forget that. You see, I'm sure you might have experienced that. In our university, no mobiles are allowed in the classroom. And once it is confiscated, don't come back to ask again. That's the system. You see, I just to give an idea what type of students we are addressing in the classroom context. Then today's context, especially with the pandemic, we came more on to online learning. That is internet-based courses offered synchronously or asynchronously. Synchronously means along with what we call later a blended mode of teaching, or the other one, pure distance learning like correspondence, courses, mobile learning, or internet learning. Also, we talk about blended learning, a method of teaching what integrate technology and digital media with the classroom activities. That is offline, online together, taking the strength of both online teaching and offline teaching. So this is the context we live in. Given this context and the type of at least some of the students we address in the class, let us speak about the two major types of communication. What are they? One is verbal, the other non-verbal. These are the major two classifications. Now, verbal communication refers to the words that we choose. Some authors will also include written letters in this verbal communication, but some others would say, oh, that they are not verbal. Yes, exactly, they are not verbal, because verba in Latin means words. So words that we choose and how they are heard and interpreted. Each the speaker or the teacher speaks and the students listen and understand. So too, when students speak, the teacher hear and understands and interprets. So speaking with clarity, being silent and focused, being well behaved, and following certain ethical norms or rules of behavior will help in the process of verbal communication. This is a very general statement. I put together various factors, but we'll come to the details later. We get clarity of thought and clarity of speech, then focus, behavioral patterns in the classrooms, then certain rules, code of behavior. These are some of the part and parcel of. Now, what are the different types of verbal communication? At least we can, there could be another classification as well, but there is intrapersonal, interpersonal, small group, and public. Intrapersonal, intra within. So confident restricted to oneself. Our communication to ourselves. But what is more important in the classroom setting is interpersonal. Between two people or between a small group, which we call small group. Because see, in Indian context, in most of the classroom, there are minimal, let's say 20 students, sometimes 40, sometimes more. Therefore, we have not only interpersonal like a mentor and mentee, a student and a teacher, but we also have small group communication happens when there are more than two people involved, 20, 40, 60 in some class. I don't know what is the strength of the class in Mercy College, you see. So there also we have public communication. We address a big gathering, like in big conferences, webinar, etc. Now what is happening like this? See, these are the normal communications. Now, verbal communication also includes activities like telling, singing, or questioning, or answering. Now, what are some of the advantages we enjoy when we have verbal communication? Number one, it saves a lot of time, and it saves money because we don't need any gadgets, etc. Then feedback is very quick. Students can immediately tell whether they hear or they understand, etc. They can even ask questions. Then also it's a convenient method. Also, there is a clarity of method. And then comparatively easy to prepare. Other one, we need to be computer savvy, techno savvy, etc. That's not required when it is direct. But some of the regional differences, these are disadvantages of verbal communication. This is something very important in our question. You see, especially if English is the medium. Now, I don't know whether I am pronouncing the words properly so that you understand and makes it intelligible. You see, every language has certain what they call dialect influence. Now, even in Kerala, the Malayalam we speak in Kannur side is not the way we in Ernakulam speak. So too, it's not the same in Trivandrum. And Trichu, they have very typical Malayalam and its accent. So therefore, when a teacher teaches, there is a problem. Sometimes students don't get. So that could be one. Then the language differences. When a Malayali speaks English, it's not the same way Tamilian or Kannadiga, or in our campus, we say the Malus and the Talus and the Tulus and the Kannus and the Mangus, they speak different languages. That's what we say. You see? And also there is a problem when it is large audience. Now, the biggest problem in a classroom setting like ours, let it be Mercy College or West Christ University, this is the problem. These are of different caliber. You see, some of them don't listen because they are careless. Some of them listen, but they don't comprehend well. You see, therefore, the active listening, active comprehension, then active understanding and interpretation, that would vary from person to person. Therefore, this is one. See, I have noticed in some of the classes now, because of the RTE, in some of our classes, we have selected candidates, and also from government, we get some students, especially for B.Ed, M.Ed, etc. Now you can see the proficiency of language between the students who are qualified and entered, and those who are coming through qualification of government admission process. That's quite different in the receptivity. Maybe finally they will perform well, but at least in the beginning, it's a difficulty. That's what we are talking about here. Now, how to improve our verbal communication? This is from my own experience. Also, as a teacher, I have been a teacher for, let's say, from 1982 onwards. I have been teaching. Of course, then I went for high studies, etc. But then, plan the crux of the conversation. The first thing every teacher, professor must do is the homework. Not only we give homework to students, but every teacher must do homework. That's the first thing lesson we have to learn. I have to do what happens sometimes we have family affairs, we have so many involvement in the society, so much that we have no time to prepare. And we straight away take a book. Now with these all PPTs, we go to the classroom and we straight away start. But that's not a good practice in my humble opinion. We need sufficient homework. Second, always something to put in the conversation. You see, my dear teachers, if something new with the students have not heard or not. Otherwise, it's very difficult to attract their attention. If you only say what they know, because now, because of this Google and so on, many of the students Google before they come to the class. So they might know a lot of stuff. Today, information is so large. Therefore, in our educational process, this is very important to make sure that we give something new, maybe a new information, maybe a new understanding, or maybe a new interpretation, or new critique, at least some perspectives which you can give to the students. Then they will follow you. Then, from a personal point of view, do not shy away and be confident. You see, especially first days, we'll have a lot of problems. We are afraid. You see, stage fright. You see, but what the psychologist would say is be confident. Put up your face well, so that you can win over your students, your scholars. In my class, I don't call them students, I call them scholars, because they serve wisdom. They are really scholars. Now, another thing which is a problem with the Mallus, sorry about that. Those who are outside, please excuse me. Sometimes we always have this very friendly saying, "Eda poda." You see, we use pronouns more than proper nouns. But a good teacher, an effective teacher, will learn to begin with at least some names in the class. My dear teachers, if you know the students by name, you have a lot of command over them, a lot of influence over them. At the first task, if you have 20 students in the classroom or 40 students, try to learn their names, let's say in 1 week, 2 weeks. Then you become the master of the stage. That's the advantage. So therefore, instead of calling you, and today, remember, they will object to if you address somebody at a product. They will remind you, I have a name, and address me by name. So therefore, this is very important that we pick up. I know I've been trained by most of the foreign professors from Belgium. They were the Jesuits in St. Xavier's. And they were very particular to address. Even I remember a bishop who said, call me just by name, George. I don't know, in Kerala, it's unimaginable, a bishop being addressed just by name. But anyhow, that may be too much for our culture. But what is important is try to, I don't know, have you seen that film, I don't know whether it's in Malayalam, in Tamil, Rakshasi. There the teacher, the principal asked the students, call me Gita. And it was a shocking revelation for the students, but later they agreed to call her Gita. You see, what I'm saying is don't go to the extreme, but what is important is try to learn the name of the person, students. Then finally, to improve our skills, we can also make use of non-verbal communication, which you have learned. Okay, so what we have seen is what is verbal communication. Mostly it has to do with the words. Secondly, we said what are some of the advantages of verbal communication. We also spoke about some of the disadvantages. Also, we said how to improve. Most important thing, I would say, do homework, then be confident, take the students into confidence, and give something new to them every day. Little bit. I don't say completely new because we have to follow the syllabus. Okay, if you can do these 4, homework, confidence, name the student, and something new, I'm sure you will be a success in the profession of teaching. Now, non-verbal, that's a very complex, what they call manual language, which is what they call non-verbal communication. And there are a lot of stuff. You can see the long chart down there. We will come to that. Some of the strange names, but don't be afraid of the strange name. They mean something very simple. We will make it very simple. So it's a process of sending and receiving messages. It's a process of encoding and decoding. It's a communication between two through non-verbal. Now, what are these non-verbal? Now, some of them important non-verbal communications it's all technical names. I told you, don't be worried about that. We will make it very simple. The first is kinesis, kinesics. From the Greek word kinesis means movement, dynamics. Then haptics, vocalics, proxemics, chronemics, etc. You see? Now, before going to detail, maybe if you can remember the technical names, it's simple word. Kinesis, I said movement. So movement of body, eye, etc. Haptics means with the touch. You see? Then vocalics, through the sound. Proximis, which has to do with the space. Proximity, that's English word. And chrome, which has to do with the time. These are some of the categories of non-verbal communication. Now, the first thing, kinesics, as I told you, from the Greek word kinesis, which means movement, and refers to the study of the hand, arm, body, and face movements, etc. Now, here we have a lot of things to be taken care of. Number one, your gestures. You see? Then your movement of your head and the posture with which you engage classes, or when you talk a student in person. And what about your eye contact? What about facial expressions? These are very, very important. These all come under kinesics. I remember, I know a couple of teachers, when they teach, they don't face the students. If they are looking in the sky, they are counting the roof. I don't know why. You see, therefore, according to scholars, 60 to 70% of communication take place through non-verbal means, through our gestures and movements and posture, eye contact, facial expression, etc. Therefore, they are very important. Also, they say the whole look of the person. You know, some personalities are very powerful, but others are not. But what they suggest is clean, modest. I don't think students will expect a luxury kind of. Of course, most of the college and universities, students have a uniform, but teachers, they are free. But in Christ, students can come one day in their own, what they call model, local dress. They call ethnic day. So they all come in all funny, fancy dress. Otherwise, they have kind of modest dress. So the appearance is also very important. Think about it. So that is in 8-6. Your movements, the whole body and different organs. And also, you have to be very careful about certain body movements. You know, some are very unparliamentary, unwelcome in the class context. We should be careful, especially use of fingers. And today, youngsters, they know much more than what we think of. Therefore, we should be doubly careful about that. You see? So that is the first thing, the body movements. Now, the second is about haptics, and that is communication by means of touch. I know I am afraid to talk about this. You see, there are several ways of touch, including professional touch, social touch, friendship touch, intimacy touch, and sexual, etc. Now, in a classroom context, in a university context, or context of St. Mary's, Mercy College, we have to be very careful because today there are certain touch which are legally objectionable. What we call groping, harassments. And if we are not careful, dear, we'll end up in jail. You see, therefore, it is very important. At the same time, yes, touch, you know, touching is very healing if it is properly conceived and managed. You see, for example, we have our own experience. Our mother's touch, maybe a hug, a pat, a kiss, whatever. So therefore, I don't say that we should be, but in the professional, sometimes we say, in Indian it is yes, we say namaste. If it is in Europe, it is, sometimes we have shake hand. And if you go to Germany, and if you know, a kiss, and in Germany 3 times, Belgium 2 times, but remember, the kiss is not on lips, kiss on the cheek. And if you don't know, if you jump and kiss on the lips, they'll object to that. That's reserved for the couples. You see, therefore, we should be powerful. See, whenever we organize, in the introduction, I think Sneha said, we are organizing conferences. Yes, we do organize conferences, but then we train our volunteers for about 1 week about the mode of behavior, how they should talk, how they should dress, how they should deal with. And we tell them, don't ask us silly questions sometimes which would annoy them. For example, I told them, don't ask ever, what is your religion? Because that's not our concern. Secondly, don't ask whether you are married. You see? Similarly, don't ask how many children you have. This all very private question. Of course, if you are intimate friends, you can ask otherwise. In Kerala, we used to never ask a lady, what is your age and what is your husband's salary? That's what we commonly say. I don't know how far it is true. But there are certain questions and certain mode of non-verbal actions which we should not do. So depending on the context, that is very, very important. Yes, I will speak later one. So this is the second haptics. So this communication by touch. First, communication by movements of the body. Second, haptics, communication by touch. Third one, vocalics. Vocalics is paralanguage, which includes vocal qualities like the pitch, volume, rate, vocal quality, and verbal fillers, etc. Now I am afraid because I don't see your face and so on. I'm not very sure whether you are listening properly because of the internet problem, connectivity, networking. But still, I hope, this is a hope that you listen too. Therefore, in our classroom setting, if you are using sound system, make sure that students do listen. Otherwise, whatever you say would be simply a waste. You see, also your intonation, or you're raising your volume or high pitch, you can have modulations. Otherwise, today people don't like monotony of sound. You know it. If it is monotonous sound, people can fall into sleep. Otherwise, also in the early morning, there is a tendency among the scholars, students to sleep. They take a nap in the class. You see, not to worry, there should be modulation of the volume, pitch, etc. So that's very important as a good teacher. You see? So that's about vocalics. Now, what is proxemics? Refers use of space and distance within communication. In general, especially in the US, they speak about 4 zones constitute our space. The public zone, that is 12 or more feet. Social zone, 4 to 12 feet. Then the personal zone, 1.5 to 4 feet. And the intimate zone from body contact to 1.5 feet. Now in the classroom, depends on what type of contact or rapport you have with the students. I think it can't be intimate zone, but should be maybe social zone or person zone. Yes. Or maybe when it is a really large classroom, public zone. But I can't say definitely which one is better than the other. Depends on the context. When you have a personal, remember, interpersonal communication, maybe what is ideal, maybe 1.5 to 4 feet. Now, pandemic would say 3 feet. You see, that's today's dictum. Keep at least 3 feet distance, social distancing. So at least keep in mind, given the context, we have different sound patterns. So that is proxemics. You can remember the word proximity. Proximity in English means nearness. How near a teacher should be from the students. That's a question of proximity. And next, chronemics. It refers to time. You know, chronos, chronicle. Chronos is time in Greek. Also, it's another word, kairos. Kairos is more personal time. We all have chronos 24 hours. But after 24 hours, how many hours we use? How many hours you make it personal? That's what we call kairos. So chronos. Now, time also can be classified into categories like biological time or personal time, physical time, cultural time, etc. Now, what is biological time? To give an example, for example, early morning, that rising time, that's a biological time. Similarly, late evening, sleeping time. So if you engage a class, for example, early morning, you have to be doubly cautious. Similarly, late night, because some university have evening program, and that goes up to, let's say, 10 o'clock. So you have to be more careful. Otherwise, I don't know. Personal means what the students are interested in. Physical, what is given 24 hours, how you plan, the time management. Cultural means certain particular group of people have a kind of tendency, oh, this time is ideal. So these are the different time zones. And normally in class hours, we have from 9 to 4 o'clock with a break, etc. You see? So it's not immediately affecting the biological time, the early morning or the late evening. So that, but now personal time is the time students are interested. Now, how we can tally with the interest of the students, I don't know. When we have a fixed timetable in the class, in the university, in a college like Mercy College, how far we can follow. But remember, certain times are so conducive for lectures, for programs, but certain time frames are not at all good. That depends on the attitudes and the aptitude of the teacher and the students in the. Now, let me also give some of the tips for effective communication. So we have seen verbal communication, and we have seen different facets of non-verbal communication. Now we have something. The first one, use of media or the medium. The very purpose of media is to explain complex ideas and to enhance the quality of teaching and not to distract. Therefore, the choice of the media is very important. I would leave to the freedom and the discernment or the prudence of the teacher and the age and complexity of the students. Now, in the traditional classroom, we have a chalkboard. And today we say dry erase board. That also make you more active, dynamic, etc. But today, more and more with the online and bent mode of teaching and learning, we have video, audio clips. You see, that give dynamics, life. Then, you see, if it is a history class, for example, artifacts, you see, certain historical pieces, and that you get a sense of the real in the classroom. Then one important thing what we can do, which is students, some of the people expect is handouts. I don't know, in your college, you have that system of giving a few pages of handout. And then maybe these days, maybe online you make provide the class notes, etc. Or there is a textbook. So these are all about using the data or the datum, the media. Then what are some of the rhetoric devices to improve the communication? First thing, connect the topic with the student's interest. That's very, very important. They should feel that this topic is relevant. Or connect with their some experience, especially their prior knowledge. Ask some questions about their general knowledge, about the knowledge of our nation, you see, or about if it is about something about sports, film industry, or fashion world, or what we call the electronic gadgets, or new cars, or new policies in education, you see, or latest news in a particular context, if it is in Mercy College in your own place. You see, then provide an example, not an example, provide an example or anecdote, because stories and anecdotes have an emotional appeal than pure words. And perhaps through stories, if you can communicate, they will remember these facts. And demonstration that the student can connect. I know in the science class there are demonstrations, but even in humanities and social sciences, we can have certain demonstrations. There's nothing wrong in that. And structure. You see, this is why I said we have to do a homework. First, structure the class in a logical way, what I call sequence, so that student may not struggle, find out what is the theme discussed, how it progress develops. So share an outline at the beginning, then let the students know the what of learning. I think that's in every college we have a syllabus. Therefore, that's not a big deal. Then most important is clarify the purpose, the why of learning. I don't know whether you have asked the students, why are you here today? I don't know what is the explanation they would give. You see? Then if you have a why to live with, Nietzsche would say you can enter any number of houses. Therefore, remember that famous book, Rick Warren, Purpose Driven. Are our students and college purpose driven? Then classes will be much, much easier. I move on, repeat key ideas and concepts so that they remember. Also, that will give an emphasis to that. Focus on major points and the students seek additional information later through in the meta and so on. Then the most important thing is create a safe environment for students, which is conducive for study research. They should feel safe so that their all faculties can be awake and they will spend more time. So the environment, the milieu, Leben is very, very important. Teamwork, try to encourage teamwork, because when students are together in small groups, etc., they become more active, and even weak students pick up along with others. The communication will improve, cooperation will improve, collaboration will be there, and students' life will be more fruitful. Then active listening. Both on the part of the students we have to cultivate, and also mostly on the part of the professors, the students, the teachers. We should have the ability to listen Well, active listening, not selective listening. Selective means whatever you like here, whatever you don't like, you don't hear. That is selective. But active listening, listen carefully to what your students say, checking that you have understood them correctly, and then question them, challenge them. And your feedback matters. Ask for positive feedback or negative feedback, whatever. Now, finally, I'll conclude this and then one comment. This classroom communication would make sense provided we cultivate in the students a sense of realism. You know, the old saying, in medio stat virtus, virtue stands in the middle. I always do a demonstration in the class. I'll call a student and take their writing, and I try to keep it very close to them. And I ask them to read. And they would say, sorry, I can't read because I am blind. Then I will do the same paper, keep it very far. Then I'll ask them to read. The same result. Students will say, sorry, I can't read because too far. You see, in our classroom communication, all the extremes. You see, when it is too close, it's blind. That's why Shakespeare said, falling in love is blind. Also, Sartre said, too far relationship, that's also hatred. That's also extreme. Don't be in too much of love, don't be too much of hatred. Both are extreme. So follow the noble path, the middle way, what Buddhists would say, the middle path, because virtue stands in the middle. For that, I'll conclude. We need not teachers, but we need mentors. I repeat, today the need of the hour, especially in the online, blended line teaching and learning, what we need not simply teachers, but we need mentors. Thank you. God bless you. Okay, here I am. I'm sorry, I took extra 4 minutes. Now, yeah, I think you can, if you want
Yes,
one,
yes,
one by one, you can unmute and ask question. That's, I like it because I can.
Yes, sir. We are going to unmute.
Okay.
Participants, please raise your hand to ask doubts. And we don't have much time. We only have 5 minutes for doubt clearing now as we are running late. So please raise your hand and you'll be unmuted.
Good evening, Father.
Yes, good evening. Would you please
Father,
say your name?
Yeah, I'm Manoj. I
Okay,
teach in a
Manoj.
college. I'm from Mangalore, Father.
Oh, yes, Manoj Louis.
So I
yes.
was also with the Jesuits in Mangalore here. Presently, I'm in government college here.
Okay.
Father, my question to you is, I had asked a question earlier pertaining to ethics.
Yep.
My question was, ethics, I believe, is all very situational. Whether to do or not to do.
Mm-hmm.
Suppose if I find a bag full of money,
Mm-hmm.
especially at the time where I'm very much in need of money, do you think the concept of ethics comes in there? That is my first question, Father. And the last one pertaining to your communication session, the last one that you said, don't be too much in love and don't be, maintain that distance as well, hatred and love that you mentioned. But I don't believe I don't agree with you, Father, in the first part. I think when you are in love, you are in love. There is no question of middle path. Your thoughts, Father. Thank you.
Yeah, I say immediately, I said, this is in our relation in classroom, because when it is too close, this is an experiment, demonstration, and that is true. When you are obsessed with anything, you don't see that. But as a teacher, you should see as they are. I always say a teacher should have two eyes. One eye to see reality as they are. A woman as a woman, a man as a man. Don't get confused. When it is a classroom, as a classroom. When it's a playground, as a playground. That is the purpose of the first eye. The second eye is to discern what is best here and now. That is the question about the middle way. Now about the situational ethics. You see, this is a branch of ethics, very popular. Now, in their need of money, can I steal, or if I find some money, Now you ask your conscience, is this money mine? You see, and that after immediately your need, and when you have your second need, where you will go? Then you want a miracle to happen? No. In the heart of heart, in the conscience, we'll feel, even if we use that money, we'll be somehow a discomfort. You see, therefore, ethics is not about particular instance, whether that in situation, that in that case, every theft can be justified. Every rape can be justified. Every murder can be justified according to it, because I need an important urge to finish. Now I did it. But that is not the case. Nobody would justify that. And if it happens to be, for example, it's my money somebody has taken away, what will be my feeling? So therefore, I think, Manoj Louis, I don't think situational ethics would solve an issue. Yes, please. Yeah, tell me. Yeah, somebody is talking now. Yes.
Attention participants, the feedback form has been released and it will be active only for 20 minutes. B. Rupla Naik, you may speak now.
Yes, Rupla Naik. Hello.
If Rupla Naik is not available, Dr. Jyoti Tiwari may speak now.
Okay, Dr. Jyoti Tiwari. You can unmute and then speak, please. Hello, Jyoti Tiwari? No.
Yes, good evening, sir.
Yep. Yes,
sir,
Dr. Jyoti, yes.
Yes, good evening, sir. Sir, my question is that how can we develop the professional ethics among employees, and what are the ways for it? Can we develop it, or means it is related with values? So can we teach them?
Yes, my answer is yes. Values are something what we inculcate. They are acquired.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That's why Aristotle speaks about these virtues. All virtues are values. And he said they are human perfection. And how do you become perfect? And he would say, repeatedly doing the good act. He said, how do you become a chef? Not by cooking one time, maybe 100 times, 1,000 times, when you call yourself a chef. Otherwise, you just cook. Similarly, value system is such. For example, wisdom. For example, courage. For example, temperance. For example, justice. This all we practice repeatedly, doing what is good. And that can be done. That's what especially our mothers are doing. When you grow, mama say, baby, don't do that. Then we say, okay, there is a point in that. So we call, for example, so therefore we respect our mama. We respect our appa. We respect our elders. It's all we picked up. It's all values in our life and which should be cherished and fostered. So values can be acquired. But of course, we need a mechanism. Maybe in the family, maybe in our schools, beginning from pre-KG and kindergarten, primary school, whatever. And I would say mother's role is very, very important.
Agree, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Chaudhary. Yes, others, please.
Sir, we'll wind up the session. I think there are no more doubts.
Okay, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your very informative session on professional ethics and classroom communication.
Are you Sneha? I see their name, Sneha.
Yes, sir, I'm Sneha.
Okay. Yeah, thank you, Sneha.
Now I invite Soumya Prakash from Department of English, St. Mary's College, for the vote of thanks.
Yeah, you have to unmute. The name is Sharada Nilkumar, but you have to unmute.
A very good evening to all. I consider it as a great honor and privilege to propose the vote of thanks on this memorable occasion. Let me first of all start by giving glory to the Almighty God for making today's session a grand success. First and foremost, I thank our special guest, Sri M.B. Rajesh, Honorable Speaker of Kerala Legislative Assembly, for the inaugural address, who, despite his busy schedule, has found time to grace this occasion. We are grateful to Father Dr. Kurian Kachapilli for this wonderful session, which I'm sure will enrich the participants' knowledge on the topic. That was indeed a very interactive session, sir. Thank you so much. I express my sincere gratitude to Reverend Father Denny Cholapalli, Principal of St. Mary's College, for his words of encouragement and continued support. Thank you, Father. And I also express my heartfelt thanks to Dr. Sudarshana Kumar, Head of the Department of Chemistry, St. Mary's College, for his valuable guidance, vision, and support. His able guidance has always encouraged us. Thank you, sir. It would be a great mistake from my part if I forget to mention the coordinator's name. Thank you, Ms. Sharada Andikumar, for your valuable contribution and commitment. I owe special gratitude to the non-teaching staff who have worked hard to ensure the technical support. Last but not the least, I thank all the distinguished participants and panel members of the Faculty Development Program. Once again, I thank you all for your attention. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yes. What else, Neha?
Thank you, sir. That's all for today. Thank you for your cooperation and thank you for the awesome class that you gave.
Okay,
thank you so
very
much.
much.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Also, a big thank you to all the participants who are very patient in this session. We're hoping to see you tomorrow. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, all the participants. God bless you. Bye-bye. Adios.